Hello and welcome to Temple of Akasha, the home of embodied spirituality with me, Natasha. So I had a question come in about what inner work actually means. I'm going to read that question and respond now. What does doing the inner work mean? I see phrases like that everywhere, but it's so vague. Please give specific examples. Great question. So to me, the simplest definition of inner work is anything that we engage in that helps us to develop self-awareness. Anything that we do, engage in, experience that helps us to become more conscious, more aware, more connected to ourselves. What that looks like can take many, many different forms. There are many ways of doing the inner work, so to speak. But it's anything that leads you to develop greater self-awareness. So it could be as simple as reflecting after a difficult conversation with a friend or a loved one or a family member and just noticing, what happened during that conversation, why was it tense, what part did I play in that? That's doing the inner work because you're taking the time to introspect. More traditional ways of doing the inner work might include things like therapy, where we are actively engaging in the process of discovering more about ourselves, about our stories, limitations, about our true essence, about our true nature. There are, of course, many systems that have been developed over time to help us understand ourselves and connect with ourselves more deeply, yoga being one of them. So when we are doing the posture practice, the yoga asana, whether that's hatha, vinyasa, ashtanga, yin, restorative, whatever style of yoga you're engaging with helps you to do the inner work because it allows you to cultivate presence and helps you to be mindful. The yoga asana practice, which is what we in the West consider yoga, and it's actually just one limb of yoga, that helps us to be grounded more in the body. When we're connected to the body, we're more connected to feeling and our emotional landscape, and we're more connected to this present moment. So when we engage in the yoga asana practice, for example, we're doing the inner work because we're taking the time to be present with ourselves, and therefore we can actually hear and listen to what is happening within our own being. And then we can begin the process of discovering things, of moving energy, of witnessing an emotion, a sensation, a story that needs to be witnessed. Doing the inner work is, as I've said, anything that allows you to cultivate a more conscious, awake, aware way of being. Other examples, you can do EFT tapping. This is a system, emotional freedom technique, is one that I use regularly. If I'm feeling stuck, if I'm feeling stagnant, if I'm feeling like I'm really locked into a story, it taps, when we tap during EFT, we tap on the meridian points and it helps to stimulate gently the flow of energy through the body. It's usually paired with affirmations and or validating sentences that help us to express how we're feeling. So it's a powerful way to move energy. That's doing the inner work, because it's allowing us to cultivate a connection to, again, the body, the emotional experience, what we're experiencing in the present moment, instead of being completely lost in the momentum of the mind, which is usually has nothing to do with what's happening in the here and now. It's either past, worrying, and anxiety about the past, or gripping, forecasting, and trying to anticipate and plan for the future. When we're doing the inner work, we are strengthening our connection to be present with the here and now, our lived experience as it is, not what it was or what we're hoping it will be. Although some of our inner work practices, of course, do help us to consciously connect to the past experiences we've had or cultivate a more conscious future. But the inner work can only ever be done in the present. What other examples of inner work there are? I mean, to me, anything that cultivates awareness is inner work. Journaling, so taking the time to sit down and notice, how am I feeling today? What's coming up? Why did that bother me? What do I feel the root of that is? What is the sensation in my body? How would I describe it? Anything that allows us to, begin that inner exploration is inner work. Meditation, mindfulness, um, any other practice or modality that, again, cultivates awareness, opens the mind, is inner work. At a practical, experiential level, inner work can also be in our day-to-day moment when we are pushing our comfortable limits. So, for example, when we have a goal and we actively, consistently choose to work towards that goal, we're already doing the inner work because we've taken the time to listen to ourselves, to set a goal that feels like it's in alignment. And when we're working towards that goal, we are almost definitely going to hit up against fear-based conditioning or self-limiting beliefs that stop us from a place of fear, accessing, moving towards, embodying the qualities of what we want. So again, at an experiential level, when we choose to listen to ourselves and follow our inner guidance, when we choose to move in a direction that feels aligned, empowering, impassioned, we're going to be doing the inner work naturally, because we're going to, in doing that, in reaching beyond that comfortable limit, in reaching beyond the confines of the egoic structure that wants safety and stability, we're going to start hitting up against perceived barriers or parameters of safety that the ego has installed, so that we don't, move beyond what the ego deems to be safe and comfortable. So anything where we're doing the inner work, for me, is taking us closer to the true essence of the soul, the purity of the heart, and away from egoic ways of living and being governed by fear. When I say ego, I mean the small self, the fearful self, the self that is identified with labels and material goods and this material body, and is completely absorbed in what we have and what we do and how we present, and is not connected to a deeper essence of the undercurrent of all of those things, which, can't really be accessed unless we do the inner work. So the inner work is a process of us actively moving towards understanding the nature of who we are beyond that which we can see and that which we can point to with words or labels. I think I'm going to leave it there. To me, inner work is a very broad term. It encompasses so many different things. When we engage in systems like astrology, human design, when we study things like psychology, anything that is helping us to understand ourselves better or to open the mind to different perspectives, to our gifts, to our innate wisdom, to learning and growth, is inner work, because it is ultimately expanding us as individuals. So I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to connecting with you again in the next one.